وتخطت فرحة اللقيا كبرق.
This is the exact same spot that Suhayb Rahimahullah called me in his final moments. He was literally got his phone and he was calling me. Oh, yo, Hamza, where you at? This was the clip that he was showing me. I've seen the cliff, I've seen the water. This was the final scenes that I've seen with my brother Suhayb Rahimahullah before I received the call that he has been found drowned and he's been picked up by the Irish Coast Guard. The way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala dragged me out of the country still has me shook. The most unplanned trip I've ever had. We get a call around midnight of the exact same day. Listen, we have a situation, we need you to coach your car and come to Manchester. Any excuse that I came up with, there was a solution to it. Allah wanted me to get out of the country. That's it, full stop.
The values that Suhayb had, if he was to sit down and write them down, he'd be writing for days. But one of them was his time, how he spent his time, how he worked around the time with prayers. His routine would be planned around Salat times. His best friend was the Quran. When he was in the hospital, his notebook was revealed, and within that notebook was about the Quran.
You cannot think of a bad thought about him. He doesn't badmouth anyone. He doesn't talk behind anyone's back. He would never do anything to hurt someone. You can only think of him smiling. You can only think of him trying to help you. You can never think anything negative about him at all. I am not over-exaggerating this. Just because someone has died, Allah yarhamu. He did not live for this dunya. He lived for the akhirah. He'd come out and he'd have fun with you. He'd have a laugh. But at the end of the day, his priorities were what? Were the Quran and his prayer.
Suhayb's sense of humor is very, very, very strong. It's very funny as well. It's unlimited, but then it would be limited to Islamic teachings of a sense of humor. He always used to match your energy. If he sees you joking around, he'll also join you and match your energy as well. He would advise small and lead by an example. So Suhayb loved, the Quran a lot. Although he did have maybe some difficulties here and there. We all have difficulties in terms of learning. But he always tried his best. He wasn't embarrassed to go and get his mistakes corrected, especially for Quran. He always had that connection with the bond, no matter what he was going through in life, up and downs. We all go through up and downs, but he always kept that connection with the Quran and the Salat and the Sunnah. And that's one thing about Suhayb.
I remember Suhayb, he would never miss Fajr in the mosque. Also, he'd sit down in the corner and read Quran until it's time to go to college. Seeing him pray Fajr would make me also want to make the Fajr. I used to pray at home, but seeing him telling me to pull up to Fajr, I'd pull up as well.
I think the Quran has played a very big role. Wherever he was always either listening to Quran, reciting the Quran, or thinking when to recite, having a plan, a journal plan, how many surahs he has to write. He was actually, in fact, mashallah, reciting Quran every single day, and there's a lot of people to witness that, mashallah. I went skydiving with Suhayb, and it was one of the funniest moments I've ever had. He was very scared and terrified, but mashallah, very courageous on doing the jump.
One of my fondest memories with Suhayb was actually when we went to the beach. He came to pick me up from my house, and he was waiting for me for like 20-25 minutes. And I remember as soon as I went back into the car, he didn't even ask why it took long. That's just his character.
I always thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for blessing me with an individual like him, especially towards the time where he passed away, rahimahullah. He set clear-cut boundaries that you couldn't pass. If you crossed it, Suhayb wouldn't take it. Anything that goes against Islam, anything that goes against his faith, it's not happening.
He was one of the most committed people. Suhayb was the type of brother that you could always depend on. Even if everyone else failed and everyone else didn't show up, Suhayb was that one guy that would be there. He would show up. Come rain, hails, thunderstorms, snow, you name it. Suhayb was that guy. Once he committed himself to something, he was there regardless. And that was one thing that I really loved and admired about Suhayb, was his dedication and his commitment. And subhanAllah, he was very dedicated to praying Fajr in the mosque and reading Quran. Sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves his abd so much that he decides, right, I need to take you back now.
Me and Mu'ad were coming back from Manchester. We were driving this exact car. We got a call from Suhayb rahimahullah around 4:30. He was asking me, he was like, oh Hamza, where you at? I'm like, oh bro, I'm on my way back from Dublin. He was in 44. He was very, very blurry. The connection wasn't the best. I was in the motorway and the connection was interrupted. And that was the final conversations Suhayb rahimahullah ever had with any human.
You were the last person?
I was the last human Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wrote for him to speak to in this world. Which is scary to think about, to be honest. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wrote in the books that I'm going to be the last human that he's ever going to speak to.
ومضى الرفاق وخلفوا من بعدهم ألم يمزق مهجتي.